welcome back. I'm Mel if you're new here, and today's video is going to be about the sumo squat, which is what I used to grow my booty. So if you're interested in learning more about this movement, please keep watching. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions, but we'll get right into it. I can.
Because it's like so they can, if he comes in when I'm not here.
You could never, Alex, you were trying to get
Let me see again.
Bro, you lost your mind on moving.
I just ate too.
Oh, he's gonna do it. Come right here, come to the camera. Yeah, do it again, Alex, do it again. Last time he took off his clothing, he was trying so hard. Let's see it. He pulled all the door tricks. Yeah. No, we love to pretend we're students. Alex, he has nothing close to do, my guy. That is 4 away. 4 away.
I'm back to 3 though.
You can't, no, you're not at 3.
Hey, I'm not.
You're not at 3.
Breathe in. Let me breathe in real quick.
Face it this way to like him.
This is my back.
Yeah, you and I back to you. Bro, that is not, it's not worth it. You lost your mind. You stretched my belly. Alex really has bigger ass than us and also wants a smaller waist. He's coming for our whole brand. What next? Next time you're wearing Lulu. I mean, not Lulu, Alex. The crunch bus.
That's how I'm gonna explain the video. You're more like a frog stance, so polar. You're kind of in the middle, you know? But I noticed you're purposely going wider right now.
No, I literally said nothing.
Alright, what's going on, y'all? So today we're gonna be talking about sumo deadlifts and why I have Mel doing them. Doing sumo deadlifts because they target primarily her quads and her glutes, and the reason why I have her doing these over conventional deadlifts is because conventional deadlifts target your spinal erectors a little bit more, and I'm trying to save her lower back from getting so fatigued since I now have her squatting twice a week compared to the last video when I had her squatting once a week. Good. Easy. Just keep thinking, squeeze those glutes, bring those hips forward, you're looking good. Let it settle a little on the floor, don't just bounce it, good. Easy. So with Mel, our priority has been to grow her lower body. So having the sumo deadlift has been the perfect compound to incorporate. That way we can target her quads and her glutes. Good. You look very vertical with the bar path. That's good. So a common mistake a lot of individuals make when they do sumo deadlifts is they treat it like a conventional deadlift, which is completely wrong. These are 2 different lifts. The mistake is a lot of people will try yanking the weight off the floor, which means they're just gonna fall forward when they're yanking the weight. And sumo is a very technical lift where you actually have to be patient with it. You have to literally pull the slack out, because if you do not, like I said, you're gonna fall forward and you're gonna miss out on the lockout. So with sumo, I always tell my clients that they should line up depending what their leverage is, because everyone has different length, you know, with their legs or with their torso, right? As a rule, I always tell people to just look at the rings on the bar and I have them line up their shins, and then we'll show Mel doing her sumo deadlifts. Easy. Let it settle, don't just bounce it. Good, let it settle, let it settle.
Stop the bottom, man.
Yeah, don't bounce it. That's what I mean by let it settle.
Yeah, she's just going.
She's on her rhythm.
She's bouncing, yeah. Next time.
You're doing good though, Mel. You're doing good, you're doing good, you're doing good. Just keep leading with your chest, stay vertical, good. Squeeze, good.
Better? Until I got to zoo culture, I always bounced my deadlift, but it was like very sloppy form. And then once everyone like humbled me here, every time I deadlift, when you reset, like you re-lock in, and it's like a lot harder to like kind of have shitty form. So as a rule, I always tell people, like I said, to line up their shins on the first ring of the bar, right? If your gym has 2 rings, always look at the first ring. A standard ring on the bar for measurement is the first one. Second one, people just use for Olympic weightlifting, but that's a different story. So like I said, when you do the sumo deadlift, you want to have your toes pointed out, right? So if you have them pointed out, you're going to look that the first ring is going to line up perpendicular with your shin. I think that's the word to use, right? Perpendicular. So it's going to be lined up with your shin, right? And I always tell people, whether it's conventional or sumo, you always want to line up, whether you're wearing slippers like myself, if you're barefoot, or if you're in shoes, you want to line up on the bar where the knot of your shoelace would be. So if you're wearing Air Forces, Converse, whenever you tie your shoelace, it's right over here, right? So if you're doing sumo, make sure the bar's covering that part. And then like I said, it's lined up with our shin.
And then a mistake a lot of people do is if they have no mobility, their knees sadly collapse, right? So an easy way to prevent that, or to get them basically to open up while you're setting up, is I tell people to literally rotate their knees out externally, like I'm doing so, right? And when you do this, I don't want you to think about rotating and then falling over, because a lot of times people will over rotate like this and then they literally fall over and then you can hurt your ankle. That's not the goal, right? So you want to think about minimally rotating, but you're still gripping the floor with your toes. So your foot should be a tripod. Your heel, your big toe, and your pinky toes are gripping the floor, right? And you're rotating those knees out externally, right? And if you notice, what am I doing with my hips? I'm setting it back, but my spine is staying neutral. And then as I'm doing, what I do personally for a cue, Mel's different. I like to set my shoulders back a little bit by wiggling them at the very beginning. And you notice how my spine is staying neutral. Then what I tell her and all my other clients is, instead of just reaching for the bar, you want to slowly drop into it. As I'm externally rotating my knees, I'm dropping my hips, right? And you see how my spine is staying neutral? Once I find a good height, because here's also the other mistake a lot of people make, and I know I'm talking a lot, but you're gonna learn from this video. A lot of people think that when they do sumo, they have to squat the weight, so they do this, and what happens? Their hips shoot up, but then the weight comes off the ground. If you're gonna do that, you're gonna hurt your lower back, and then you're defeating the purpose of the sumo deadlift. You are now targeting your lower back instead of your quads and glutes. So you wanna, like I said, you wanna slowly drop into the bar, and then you can start to slowly reach for the bar, right? As I'm over here, you notice my hips are at a high, let's say quarter squat position. And then what I'm gonna do with my shoulders is I'm gonna tuck them back, but as I'm doing so, I'm gonna take a big breath to gasp for air, and then I'm gonna brace my core. As I brace my core, I tuck my shoulder blades back, and this is a cue that I give Mel and all my other clients. I always tell them, break the bar. So if you're pulling mixed, right? Or if you're pulling hook grip, which we can talk about later in another video, where you're double over, you wanna break the bar, meaning turning those elbows in. In doing so, you're tucking those shoulder blades back to make your spine neutral, right? And in doing so, you're now making this tight, whereas if someone was trying to tickle you, they're not gonna be able to. But as you do so, as you turn those elbows in, you're starting to pull the slack. So you hear this little click right here? That's the noise you want to hear when you pull the slack out. So as I'm saying, my hips are set, my knees are rotated externally, right? I'm gonna tuck my shoulder blades back as I take my deep breath to brace. Pulling the slack out, you see the weight's already wanting to come off the ground. And then I'm vertically going up. Knees are staying vertically out over my pinky toes. Not vertically, I mean externally. And if you notice, the weight's just coming up vertically. If you're doing this though correctly, you'll notice your hips aren't going to be shooting up and down. They're just going to be coming at the same time that the weight leaves the floor. And if you're doing so correctly, you're going to notice you're going to feel all this movement in your quads and in your glutes when you're locking at the top. Another mistake people make is they'll just finish here and then they're defeating the purpose of the sumo deadlift. You want to bring your hips forward by squeezing your butt cheeks, aka your glutes. And in doing so, you're now completing the deadlift. Now I'm out of air.
Nice. Bro, that was me trying to do yoga with her yesterday and Q. That shit's hard.
Alright, so we'll get the bands around you.
I don't think I meet them at the places I be.
Best friends like shares her snacks. The queen.
Feel like shot it low.
So good.
To the pain, but shit is not a joke. No, baby, why you hide?
So I'll be here.
Check out to my peeps. At your nigga, I'm a beach. Too. I need chips.
Oh, if you're like
I gave him that. I was like, let's look over your notes.
Because I had her reread my notes.
Yeah, and they were good, but it was a few things
that's my
that was
script
like,
right
this
here.
is helpful.
What's my script?